Hi guys, it's me, Canada, from the Household Nation here, and today we're doing another fanfic review. The fanfic is called Code Lyoko EG by Sapphire Libre 3. I hope I'm saying that the author's name right. I don't know if I am. I'm sorry if I'm not saying it right. But this is a crossover review, a crossover between Lyoko and My Little Pony. I thought to do another crossover because we haven't done one in a while, and I thought it might be neat to do one again. So I ended up finding this one, and I've read it, and it's actually a pretty good story. But before I get into the story, I'm going to talk about the show that is being crossed over with My Little Pony called Lyoko. It's a show about a group of kids who end up fighting this supercomputer with this AI called Aelita in it. And they need to find some way to get her, the machine basically materialize her in the real world. But the thing is she's not alone in this virtual world called Lyoko, as she calls it. And there's a sort of, I don't know how to say it, like a virus or something. I don't know how they really said it, but in there as well, and they need to stop her by going into the machine, going into the computer by being virtualized and scanned in this computer, and this like scanners to go in there to stop her by having Aelita go into these towers that are basically being activated by Xana, which is the bad guy's name, and deactivating them. So it's pretty much the entirety of the story, sort of in a nutshell. And so yeah, each of the characters in My Little Pony is sort of basically a character from the show. Jeremy, who actually runs the computer, is done by Twilight. She's the one that plays Jeremy's role. Pinkie Pie is Odd, which makes sense because Odd is a very fun, wacky character, funny character. Rarity is Yumi. Rainbow Dash and Applejack both play, what's his name, Yuki, I don't know how to pronounce it, but they play him, and those are basically the character roles. Fluttershy plays Aelita, which is the AI computer character that's in Lyoko, trapped in Lyoko. So, yeah, I won't be going over every chapter in the story because a lot of it is sort of, in a sense, filler, but there are episodes with major plot points, so I will be going over that and stuff like that. So let's get started. It starts off with Applejack and Apple Bloom going to Canterlot High because she wants to sort of get away from the farm and, things like that. So she wants to go to Canterlot High, and so does Applejack. So does Apple Bloom. She ends up being roomed with Twilight in the show because apparently Principal Celestia suggested that Twilight get a roommate, and when she gets into the room, she overhears Twilight talking to a friend online. And basically, sort of goes basically that ends, and she sort of, Applejack goes throughout her day, until she goes to her fencing class and meets Rarity. Rarity plays Yumi, but Rarity is sort of a Russian character. She's basically, her parents were from Russia. She lived there until, I think they say she was 6, and then she moved to America, and she's been there ever since, and also she has a little sister named Sweetie Belle, which, as you know, the CMC goes to the school as well, so I guess they also have a middle school or an elementary school program there as well, or if they go to an entirely different school, I don't know, but yeah. And there's this love connection between Applejack and Rarity through the entire thing until they end up getting together in a letter chapel called Anxiety, I think it was called. But yeah. And so she's going about her day until she ends up meeting Twilight again, and she sees Twilight going off to the factory, going off to this factory that's been abandoned. And when she does get to the factory, she sees Twilight talking to her friend on the computer, and she basically sees this, and Twilight has to promise Twilight that she wouldn't tell anyone, because she doesn't want to lose her friends. Twilight doesn't really have any friends at the beginning of the story, and that's why Celestia suggested that she get a roommate so she can make some friends. And she doesn't want no one to, she doesn't want to lose her friend. So Applejack promises that she'd do that, and so yeah, basically it goes on until we meet Rainbow Dash and Pinkie Pie, who end up finding out about the secret as well, because they're curious about Applejack and Twilight's relationship. How they suddenly became friends out of nowhere, and especially since Twilight's never had a friend, and Applejack just suddenly came to Cantaloupe High, and they end up coming across the supercomputer as well and stuff like that. They end up keeping the secret until Rarity shows up, and then so they decide, that they would, try to materialize Fluttershy. So yeah, they end up also meeting Xana's, and it attacks one of the towers, attacks Fluttershy. That's how they end up meeting Xana, and they find out that they have to protect Fluttershy from her, and they have to deactivate towers that Xana activates, which causes weird things to happen both in Lyoko by causing monsters to attack and guard towers, causing monsters, but also causing weird things to happen in the real world as well. So this goes on for a while. There's a couple of fillers. One of my favorites has to be Five Nights at Xana, which is basically a Five Nights at Freddy's fanfiction. It's basically about Applejack, who's afraid of Five Nights at Freddy's, and Foxy, and she has to deal with that problem, which is because Jam and Tiara having a Five Nights at Freddy's themed party by her dad getting this pizza restaurant done up, all Five Nights at Freddy's and stuff. So it's kind of cool. There's that. So what's going on? She's getting them programmed. There's one episode that actually focuses on Fluttershy and Twilight's relationship, and throughout the story, Twilight and Fluttershy start falling in love with each other. In one of the stories, basically what happens is during a fight with Xana, the friends of Rarity, Applejack, and Pinkie Pie, and Rainbow Dash all get trapped inside Lyoko, and they don't know that they're trapped, but Pinkie Pie and Fluttershy and Twilight knows, and Twilight decides to go into the Code Lyoko and to save her friends, while Fluttershy goes to deactivate the tower that Xana has activated. And each of the main six has basically the form that they use that are, sort of like in the show, each of the characters from Lyoko have sort of an alternate form in Lyoko, and so do the characters. I think Rainbow Dash is a ninja, Rarity is a knight, because, Rainbow Dash is very, I don't know, I guess she's, sort of like a ninja. She's quick and speedy and sort of awesome like a ninja. Rarity's a knight because she loves protecting her friends and her family, and just Applejack is sort of sort of like a Western type character. She has the cloak, the hat, the shotgun, the double barrel shotgun. Pinkie Pie's a cat. I don't know why. I guess she's fun-loving, charismatic, and just crazy. Twilight is some type of, I don't know, they call her powers magic, but it sort of reminds me of Dragon Ball Z. She has sort of these light energy beams coming from her hand. So, so that's pretty much it. And she goes up going to Lyoko. What happens is, while her friends are trapped in Lyoko and she's trying to get them, Xana has sort of disguised herself in a way to look like Twilight, so that way she can destroy her friends by sending them into the digital sea. But Twilight ends up finding Xana and fighting her until her friends get by. And the reason, this is funny, the way they find out who Twilight, which is the real Twilight, is by Applejack having Pinkie Pie touch her boobs, basically fill her up on. And the funny part about this is how willing Pinkie Pie is for this. She doesn't think twice. She's like, I'm going for it. And apparently the reason why she did this is because the real Twilight has huge boobs, but she hides it. She doesn't want no one to know because she's very jealous about it. She's very, not jealous, but she's very scared, nervous about it, and she doesn't want to get made fun of or anything. So yeah, I thought that was kind of funny. But she ends up, how they destroy Xana is they end up, taking one of the wires and stabbing her through the back, through the stomach, stuff, chest, and electrocuting her, and that basically frees them from it, and so yeah. But what I like best about that chapter is how Twilight and Fluttershy end up meeting for the very first time. They've wanted to meet so long, and they finally do it, but it has to be under these circumstances, so yeah, that's pretty much it, until the very end, is when we get really a lot of driven things, a lot of plot-driven stuff. We end up finding out who the creators, earlier we end up finding out who the scientists are, but we don't know their actual names. We only know their code names, and the code names are basically based off of Greek mythology. We have Eros, which I think is the actual creator, supposed to be sort of based off of Aelita's father. Here is, I think, Fluttershy's either father or mother. I don't know which way it's going to be going. We have Chaos and so many other ones. But yeah, we end up finding out what happens is Twilight has suddenly figured out how to materialize Fluttershy, and they have to get it to go. While they're discussing, Celestia ends up overhearing this conversation, and she suddenly realizes that they have activated the tower, which is sudden surprise is she knows what the tower is. She was actually a part of the creation of Lyoko and stuff, which is interesting because at first, when I first started reading this, I had this feeling that that Luna and Celestia was going to be a part of this story, and it ended up being confirmed. I was right the whole entire time. That I just didn't know how it was going to be done. But it just seems that kind of odd that she just ends up overhearing it. But I guess that works. And she's afraid of what they've done, that they've activated the tower. And so she decides to send Luna to investigate, and Luna ends up finding out as well. But through the entire time, during this whole conversation, this whole entire thing that Luna sees is she ends up having flashbacks to Lyoko, to the time where she was actually in Lyoko, and she doesn't know what these memories, why she's having these flashbacks and stuff like that. So yeah, the story goes on. They end up, stopping Xana, and the biggest part is they end up materializing Fluttershy, and they think they finally won. They think they've done it. They defeated Xana. But it turns out is when you turned off the computer, then when they went to turn the computer off, it ended up sort of turning off Fluttershy in a sense, basically sort of almost like killing her in a sense. And they had to turn the computer back on to awaken her. And they realized that Xana has had the last laugh. If they just turn off the computer, they basically turn off Fluttershy. They basically kill her in a sense. And so yeah, they need to figure out how some way to not only stop Xana, but to fully materialize Fluttershy. That way they can turn off the computer, but she won't be harmed by it. So it ends off with them discussing this with Luna, and Luna being part of the gang as well. At the end of this, Discord is shown to be squeaking in the background, and he overhears this conversation and tells Celestia, and this is the time where it ends off with Celestia being very afraid because now that her sister is involved, this is getting really really serious, but she doesn't know what to do, and it ends off with that. So it's pretty much the story in a sort of nutshell. I know I skipped a lot of things, like, one thing I skipped, which, this is the part that I don't like, is, Applejack actually doesn't like Luna. She calls her names and hates her, which I don't really, it's never given a reason why. Yeah, Luna is very stern throughout the story. She's, very, sort of that, very authoritative figure and stuff like that. And, but yeah, and I don't really understand why. It never gives any explanation why she's like this or not. So, yeah, another thing is Rarity being Russian. I don't mind it, but I kind of miss the fact that, she's sort of French. I thought that was a great contrast between Applejack being a simple country girl and Rarity being this high-end, fashion thing, fashion character. And what she actually isn't, so she's not into fashion, or at least hasn't been shown. Yeah, that's pretty much it. Another thing is the sexual thing to this. There's a lot of sexual stuff that goes on and things and jokes and stuff, which I don't know. I liked it and then I hated it. I didn't really mind it, but I didn't really like it at times. I don't think that story really needs that. I think it could just been simple romance story without any of that stuff going on. But yeah, it's pretty much the new story. Those aren't really things I hate. They're more of like nitpicks, I guess. So yeah, it's pretty much the story, and I hope you guys enjoyed it. Once again, this is by Sapphire Libre 3. Also, something else before I go is that she actually has a Patreon account. So if you guys want to go check that out, donate some money to her so she can fund these stories more and see more of Lyoko, E.G., and many of her other stories. Go do that. Go donate some money to her Patreon account, and so she can keep making these amazing stories. I hope you guys enjoyed this. So yeah, I'm Canada, and goodbye for now.